There's a guy in your office who never seems stressed. While everyone else is grinding 12-hour days, desperately chasing promotions, and constantly refreshing LinkedIn to see who got ahead, he clocks out at 5 PM and genuinely doesn't care if people notice. He's not lazy, his work is solid, he's not antisocial, he's pleasant enough, but there's something unsettling about how he carries himself. When the boss criticizes a project, he doesn't spiral. When co-workers gossip about office politics, he just doesn't participate. When someone gets promoted over him, he congratulates them and means it, and it drives everyone crazy. Because while you're lying awake at 2 AM, wondering if your career is moving fast enough, if you're successful enough, if people respect you enough, he's probably sleeping peacefully. Not because he doesn't care about anything, but because he doesn't need anything from anyone to feel okay about himself. That man represents the ultimate threat to a system built on keeping you hungry. Someone who is genuinely content. Someone who can't be manipulated through fear of missing out or promises of more. Someone who has found something that no algorithm, no advertisement, no boss can touch. And that makes him the most dangerous person in that building. Let me hit you with something that's going to sting. You've been living as a psychological slave your entire life, and you probably don't even know it. When was the last time you sat in complete silence without reaching for your phone? When did you last make a decision without immediately wondering what others would think? When did you last feel genuinely complete without needing to buy something, achieve something, or prove something to someone? If those questions make you uncomfortable, good. That discomfort is the first crack in the prison you've been living in. You see, you weren't born needy. You were made needy. From the moment you took your first breath, society began a systematic process of teaching you that you're incomplete, that your worth depends on external factors, that happiness is always one purchase, one achievement, one relationship away. Think about it. As a kid, you learned that love came with conditions. Be good, get hugs. Act out, get ignored. Your parents didn't mean to, but they taught you that affection was transactional, that you had to earn your place in the world. School doubled down on this programming. Everything became about comparison. Grades, sports, popularity. You learned to measure your value by how you ranked against others. Your sense of self became entirely dependent on external validation. Then came social media, perfect tool to weaponize your insecurity. Every moment of your life became a performance. Every experience had to be documented, validated, liked, and shared. Your worth became literally quantified in hearts, thumbs up, and comments from strangers. And now, you're an adult who can't enjoy a sunset without photographing it, can't make a decision without consulting the invisible jury in your head, can't be alone without feeling anxious, can't sit still without feeling guilty. You've become exactly what the system needed you to become, a person who will never stop consuming validation, never stop buying solutions to problems you didn't know you had, never stop running on the hamster wheel of more. Here's the brutal truth that nobody wants you to figure out. The modern world isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. It was never meant to fulfill you. It was built to keep you hungry. Every advertisement, every algorithm, every piece of content you consume is whispering the same toxic message. You're not enough. You're not successful enough. Buy the course. You're not attractive enough. Buy the products. You're not interesting enough. Buy the experience. But this goes way deeper than marketing. This is systematic psychological warfare disguised as progress. Carl Jung saw this coming over a century ago when he said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." He understood that the moment you look inward, truly inward, you realize how much of your identity was built on borrowed beliefs, inherited expectations, and manufactured desires. Society doesn't want you to meet your soul. It wants you to keep running from it. Because a person who has done the inner work, who knows themselves deeply, who feels complete from within, that person becomes impossible to control. You can't sell someone a solution to a problem they don't have. You can't manipulate someone who isn't desperate. You can't control someone who doesn't need anything from you. Meanwhile, Machiavelli understood the game from the ruler's perspective. He wrote that men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. Keep people afraid of losing what they have, hopeful about getting what they want, and you'll always have leverage over them. But as he also noted, it is much safer to be feared than loved because love is preserved by the link of obligation, which, owing to the baseness of men, is broken at every opportunity for their advantage. But fear preserves you by a dread of punishment, which never fails. The system understands this perfectly. Keep you afraid of not having enough, not being enough, not doing enough. Keep you hoping that the next purchase, the next achievement, the next validation will finally make you whole. But what happens when someone stops playing this game entirely? What happens when they become immune to both the fear and the hope? they become ungovernable, and to a system built on dependency, that's the ultimate threat. Let's get brutally honest about what this constant need is actually costing you, because it's not just about feeling tired or stressed, it's about the slow death of your authentic self. Emotionally, you're running on fumes. You've become so good at performing different versions of yourself for different audiences that you've lost touch with who you actually are underneath all the masks. You're exhausted from constantly managing everyone else's perception of you. You feel empty after achieving things that should make you happy. You get the promotion, buy the thing, reach the goal, and somehow the satisfaction evaporates within days. That's because you've been trying to fill an internal void with external stuff. It's like trying to satisfy hunger by looking at pictures of food. Mentally, you're scattered. Your attention has been hijacked by 1,000 different notifications, demands, and distractions. You can't focus because you're always half expecting someone to need something from you, or wondering if you should be doing something else, or checking what everyone else is doing. You've developed what I call phantom phone syndrome, constantly reaching for your device when it hasn't buzzed. Your brain has been rewired for constant stimulation, making real presence feel almost impossible. Relationally, your connections feel hollow. Most of your relationships are built on mutual need rather than genuine appreciation. You love people for what they give you, validation, security, entertainment, rather than for who they are, and they do the same with you. Spiritually, and I mean this in the most practical sense, you feel like you're living someone else's life, like you're going through the motions of an existence that doesn't quite fit. You achieve things that look impressive on paper, but leave you feeling strangely empty inside. That's because you've been living as a reactive being rather than a creative one. Instead of asking, what do I actually want? You ask, what am I supposed to want? Instead of, what feels true? You ask, what looks good? And here's the most insidious part. This emptiness isn't a bug in the system, it's a feature. A society full of confident, content, self-sufficient people would be an economic nightmare. Who would buy all the stuff? Who would work jobs they hate to afford lifestyles they don't want? Who would chase achievements that don't matter to impress people they don't like? You've been kept hungry because hungry people are profitable. Hungry people are controllable. Hungry people don't ask inconvenient questions about why they need to work 60-hour weeks to afford things they don't have time to enjoy. But here's where everything changes. There's another way to live, one that threatens every system built on dependency. Jung called it individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, not who the world told you to be. Individuation isn't about becoming selfish or disconnected. It's about becoming whole. It's the journey of integrating all the parts of yourself, the acceptable and unacceptable, the light and the shadow, until you no longer need external validation to feel complete. Jung identified specific stages in this process. First, you confront the persona, the mask you wear to survive in society. This is the polished, likable version of yourself that you present to get approval. Most people spend their whole lives thinking this mask is their real identity, but the awakening person realizes it's just a costume and starts asking dangerous questions. Who am I when nobody's watching? What do I actually believe? Not what do I think I should believe? What do I want? Not what am I supposed to want? Next, you face the shadow. Everything you've been told not to be. Your anger, your selfishness, your wounded parts, your dark thoughts. Most people run from this stuff their entire lives, but the individuated person integrates it. They don't let it control them, but they stop denying it exists. As Jung noted, the unconscious man that is his shadow does not consist of only morally reprehensible tendencies, but also displays a number of good qualities, such as normal instincts, appropriate reactions, realistic insights, and creative impulses. This integration is what makes someone truly dangerous. They're no longer at war with themselves. They're not using massive amounts of energy to suppress parts of their personality. That energy becomes available for creation, for authentic living, for genuine presence. Then comes the most challenging stage, encountering the anima, the unconscious opposite within you. For men, it's embracing the feminine qualities they were taught to reject: sensitivity, intuition, vulnerability. For women, it's reclaiming the masculine traits they were told to suppress: assertiveness, logic, independence. When you integrate these aspects, something profound happens. You become complete within yourself. You're no longer seeking someone else to complete you or make you whole. You can love others without needing them. You can connect without clinging. The final stage is what Jung called the self, the totality of the whole psyche, which he distinguished from the ego. This isn't the small, reactive ego that needs constant validation. This is your essential nature, your core truth, your authentic being. When you reach this state, external circumstances lose their grip on your inner peace. You're no longer defined by what happens to you because you know who you are, independent of your experiences. You don't need to be accepted. You already accept yourself. You don't need to be understood. You understand yourself. You don't need to be validated. You know your own worth. This is what makes you dangerous to every system built on manipulation. You can't be bought because you're not for sale. You can't be scared because you've faced your fears. You can't be controlled because you don't need anything from the controllers. So how do you actually become this person? How do you go from someone who needs constant validation to someone who genuinely doesn't need anything from the world to feel complete? Here's the real work, and it's not for the faint of heart. Master solitude first. Start by learning to be alone without being lonely. Real aloneness isn't about isolation. It's about feeling complete within yourself. Most people can't sit in silence for 5 minutes without reaching for stimulation because they're running from themselves. Begin small. Sit in silence for 10 minutes every day. No phone, no music, no books, just you and your thoughts. Notice the urge to escape, to check something, to do something. Don't judge it, just observe it. This is where the real work happens. Practice radical self-honesty. Stop lying to yourself about what you want, who you are, and why you do things. Ask yourself uncomfortable questions. Am I doing this because it feels true to me, or because I think it will impress others? Am I choosing this relationship because I love this person, or because I'm afraid of being alone? Am I pursuing this goal because it matters to me, or because it looks good on social media? Most people are terrified of these questions because they reveal how much of their lives is built on performance rather than authenticity. Integrate your shadow. Start owning the parts of yourself you've been denying. Yes, you have selfish impulses. Yes, you have dark thoughts. Yes, you have character flaws. The goal isn't to act them out, but to stop using massive amounts of energy pretending they don't exist. Write down the traits you judge most harshly in others. These are likely projections of your own shadow. Instead of condemning these qualities, get curious about them. How do they show up in your life? What would happen if you accepted them as part of your human experience? Build internal validation systems. Stop outsourcing your self-worth to others. Develop your own criteria for what makes you proud, what makes you feel fulfilled, what makes you feel alive. These criteria should come from your values, not society's expectations. Create personal rituals that reinforce your own worth independent of external feedback. Maybe it's journaling about what you're proud of each day. Maybe it's celebrating small wins that only you would notice. Maybe it's honoring your own progress without needing anyone else to acknowledge it. Practice non-attachment. This doesn't mean not caring, it means not clinging. Care deeply about people and outcomes, but don't make your happiness dependent on controlling them. When you're not attached to specific results, you can't be manipulated through hope or fear. Start with small things. Send a text without needing an immediate response. Share an opinion without needing agreement. Make a decision without consensus. Notice how much mental energy you normally spend trying to control outcomes and practice redirecting that energy toward accepting what is. Develop discernment. When you're not desperate for approval, you can see people and situations clearly. You can spot manipulation because you're not vulnerable to it. You can recognize genuine connection because you're not hungry for any connection. Practice pausing before reacting to requests, invitations, or opportunities. Ask yourself, is this a genuine yes from me, or am I saying yes because I'm afraid of disappointing someone? Am I choosing this because it aligns with my values, or because I think it's what I should do? Create meaning from within. Stop wasting your purpose to be revealed from the outside. Your meaning doesn't come from your job title, your relationship status, or your bank account. It comes from the values you choose to live by and the impact you decide to have. Identify 3 to 5 core values that feel true to you, not inherited from family or culture. Let these guide your decisions. When your choices align with your values, you feel fulfilled regardless of outcomes. Build emotional resilience. Learn to self-soothe without external validation. When you feel anxious, instead of immediately reaching out for reassurance, sit with the feeling. When you feel sad, instead of distracting yourself, let yourself feel it fully. When you feel angry, instead of suppressing it or exploding, understand what it's telling you. The goal isn't to eliminate difficult emotions, but to become comfortable experiencing them without needing someone else to fix them or make them go away. Practice saying no. This is where you'll discover how addicted you are to pleasing others. Start saying no to requests that don't align with your values or priorities, not because you want to be difficult, but because you want to be authentic. Notice the fear that comes up when you disappoint someone. Sit with it. Realize that you can survive other people's disappointment. In fact, their disappointment says more about their expectations than your worth. Cultivate presence over performance. Stop performing your life and start living it. When you're with people, practice being genuinely present instead of thinking about how you're coming across. When you're alone, practice enjoying your own company instead of documenting it for others. The paradox is that when you stop trying to be interesting, you become interesting. When you stop trying to be liked, you become likable. When you stop trying to be impressive, you become impressive. Here's what terrifies the system the most. It's not the angry revolutionary screaming in the streets, demanding change through force. It's the quiet person who simply stops playing the game, the one who walks through the world with nothing to prove and nothing to lose. This person doesn't need the latest gadget because they're content with what they have. They don't need your approval because they approve of themselves. They don't need to win every argument because they're secure in their truth. They don't need to prove their worth because they know it inherently. This person is dangerous not because they want to destroy anything, but because they're immune to the tools of control. You can't bribe them with status, scare them with threats, or seduce them with promises because they're already complete. And here's the beautiful irony. The moment you stop needing things from people, they start wanting to give them to you. When you're not chasing love, it finds you. When you're not grasping for respect, you earn it naturally. When you're not desperate for opportunities, they appear. But that's not why you do this work. You don't become whole to get something external. You become whole to be free. The world has convinced you that freedom means having choices. But real freedom is not needing the choices. It's being okay regardless of what options are available. It's finding peace in any circumstance because your peace comes from within. So here's your challenge, and I'm not going to lie, it's going to be uncomfortable. Start today, right now. Put your phone down after this and sit in complete silence for 15 minutes. Don't meditate, don't plan, don't solve problems, just be. Notice what comes up. Notice the urge to check something, to do something, to prove something. Notice the discomfort of being alone with yourself. That discomfort is showing you exactly where your prison bars are. Then ask yourself the most important question you'll ever ask. What do I actually need right now? Not want, need. You'll probably discover that you need very little, and that realization is the beginning of your freedom. Stop begging for approval from people who don't even approve of themselves. Stop measuring your worth by metrics designed to keep you insecure. Stop performing for an audience that isn't even paying attention. Instead, become the person you've been waiting for someone else to be. Become your own validation, your own peace, your own completion. Not because you're better than anyone else, but because you deserve to be free. The world doesn't need another person competing for scraps of attention or chasing empty achievements. It needs more people who are genuinely okay with themselves, people who can think clearly because they're not desperate, love freely because they're not needy, and speak truthfully because they're not afraid. Become that person. Become dangerous in the most beautiful way possible. Become someone who can't be used, can't be bought, and can't be broken. Because in a world built up on dependency, the person who needs nothing isn't just free, they're a living revolution. And that revolution doesn't require followers, protests, or manifestos. It just requires you to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Stay dangerous, stay whole, and stay free.